Hi, my name is Kelly Winters, and this is my presentation for EDG 530, the Inclusive Classroom with Dr. Peace. This is the third grade unit on multiplication. Now, for my first lesson, I will be talking about the importance of multiplication. Why do we need to learn how to multiply? Now, the students are already familiar with addition, so I would explain to them that multiplication is really just repeated addition. Now, they need to know that there are two ways of solving multiplication problems, with repeated addition and counting groups. Now, to show them how to solve repeated addition, I would write 5 times 3 on the board. Then I would explain that this means that they add the number 3 5 times. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 15. And now I would explain to them that this can be a very difficult way how to add large numbers, and that there's a simpler way how to do this with multiplication. Now, I would start with reading the story called Amanda Bean's Amazing Dream. Now, Amanda's a young girl who loves to add. She adds everything. Now, it isn't until one day that she has this dream where she's counting sheep. And she realized how tiring and how boring it is to count a number multiple times. And so she realizes that she loves multiplying instead. So, to show the kids how to do this again, I would show them the 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, and then 5 times 3. So I would also, to assess the children, I would use parts of the book. For example, one part of the book uses a window, and in the window there are 3 window panes, and then there's 3 going across and 6 going down. I would then ask the students to explain how many windows are here. So I would ask the students also, how did you come up with this number? So did they have 3 plus 3 plus 3? Or did they count each number of window panes singly? And so I would then use that as an assessment, and as a checklist I would write a check or a check plus on whether or not they understood the meaning behind multiplication. So for my second activity, I would use cards that display addition problems, such as 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Now, the students would each be given a card and a set of Unifix cubes and a multiplication card. So the students would take this card, and then they would have 4 groups of 3. And then they would need to try to find the multiplication card that matches what this is trying to say. Again, there would be another checklist that the teacher would have to decide whether or not the students understood. The students would also be working in groups for this assignment. For my third lesson, the students will use matching. So we will be working on the 2 times tables. So each student would be given a set of cards with a hat and a teapot. Now, the students would be working in pairs, and they would need to take the hats, and then they would need to look for the answer from the teapots. Then each group member on their own paper would have a piece of paper that would have the equations that they would need to write and the answers. This will be used as the assessment for this activity. For the next activity, the students will still be working on the multiples of 2. So the students will be given a very large cutout of the number 2. And so what they'll need to do is go throughout the 2 and write 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Students will be given a number line as well, and they will do skip counting for the ones to differentiate this activity. So for my fifth activity, will be the multiples of 3. Now, the students will be using their fingers to count. I will go over which finger means what number. So this would be 1, this would be 2, this would be 3, this would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 12. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 10 is 30. Now we would go over a song that would match the multiples of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. 21, 24, 27, 30. Now the students would practice this as well. And for another activity for this is they would trace their hands on a piece of paper, and they would need to write on each finger the number. So this one would be 3, and then 3 times 1 is 3. So they would have the equation above each finger with the number of what the answer would be on each finger. So the equation is up here, and then the number of the answer would be right here. So that would be good. Go so on. And to help students with learning disabilities or learning problems with the math, I would have the students fill out little post-it notes that they would write, and each one would go on their finger, and it would check their understanding of the 3 times tables before they worked through the problem of tracing their hands onto the paper. So for my 6th activity, students would make a fortune teller. Now this would help the students with the multiples of 4. So this one is mine that I made, and it says I can multiply by 4. So I would have the students create one of these, and on each number on the inside it would have 4 times 1, 4 times 2, and so on, instead of the little fortunes that they usually have. So this would help students remember. So they can open it like this, and then they would pick a number from inside, such as they wanted to do 4 times 4. And then they would lift the flap, and then they would see 4 times 4 equals 16. Now, they can use this to study with friends, with parents, or even by themselves. And in order to assess this, the students would be asked to perform different ones, such as the teacher would ask the student, okay, so open up your fortune teller and pick one of the numbers. Don't look at it. Don't look at the answer. And, for example, 4 times 5. I would ask them, okay, so what does 4 times 5 equal? And they would have to say 20. And I would ask them to do this 3 times, and they would get, it would end up with a star. So on the checklist, there would be a backslash, they got 1, another one if they got 2, and then 1 down the middle if they got all 3. So it would end up with a star if they really mastered the 4 times tables. Now, for my seventh activity, the students would need to make a large cutout number 4, and they would have to do the same thing that they did for the number 2 cutouts. And then it would start from 4 times 0 and then go around the number. And this would be collected and assessed on whether or not the student understood the 4 times tables. For my 8th assignment activity, the students will go over the 5 times tables by doing the 5 arena. So the 5 arena is like the mock arena. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and then hey, 5 arena. And then they would go over the song, and the teacher would watch them as they performed the song, and would go over another checklist to understand whether or not the students understood how to do the 5 times tables. For my last assessment and activity, I would have them go over the 5 times tables again, and they would have to do a large cutout of the number 5. So, and then like so on for the number 2 and the number 4. They would create the 5, and they would start from 5 times 0, and then they would go around the number. Now, for each one of the cutouts that they make, and for the number 3, this would all be posted along the walls in the classroom. So students can look back and reflect about, okay, so this is the 5 times tables, this is the 4 times tables, and they can try to remember how to do certain multiplication. They would also be given a number line or a chart with the numbers, which would be a whiteboard. So it would be a laminated number board, and it would have boxes from 1 to 100, so this would help the kids skip count. And so this would be a added component for my differentiated learning. And that would be about all that I have, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you.